Recently, various gaming news outlets got their hands on the first 90 minutes of Metal Gear Solid Delta, and they've shared a wealth of details. There's a lot to cover, so let's get into it. First off, the official PlayStation blog has shared their impressions of the demo along with some new screenshots. They concluded their piece by confirming that we can expect a release date announcement by the end of this year. Unfortunately, this suggests that Delta likely won't release this year. However, a release date announcement is still exciting news, and we might even get a demo to tide us over until the full release. Next up, it has been mentioned by multiple outlets that before starting a new game, you are still greeted with the "which Metal Gear do you like" option. New games have been added, such as Metal Gear Solid 4, Peace Walker, and Metal Gear Solid 5, similar to what we saw in Metal Gear Solid 3DS. GameSpot confirmed in their video that selecting "I like MGS2" still makes Naked Snake don his infamous Raiden mask in the cutscene after his Halo jump. And speaking of the Halo jump cutscene, multiple outlets have reported that Hideo Kojima's name is still present and credited multiple times, just like in the original. One aspect that is different is a content warning similar to the one that was added in the Master Collection Volume 1. However, you can rest assured that no content has been cut from the game. Noriaki Okamura provided a quote to VGC in which he says, quote, "We are well aware that some of the expressions may have been outdated. We have a content warning, however we left the content in out of respect of maintaining the original creator's vision that he had for the game. That was an executive decision to leave it in. There are parts that have been modernized and players are vastly different than they were 20 years ago, so there are definitely tweaks, but in terms of story and plotline, we left them as is." End quote. So if you were worried about certain cutscenes or situations being cut from the game, hopefully this puts your mind at ease a bit. It's important to note that pretty much every single press outlet has made one thing very clear. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is as faithful a remake to the original as you can get. Meaning if you're expecting something along the lines of Final Fantasy VII's remakes in terms of story changes or any major changes at all outside of visuals and controls, you won't find them here. Okamura went as far as confirming that Easter eggs like the end dying of old age are still in Delta in response to a question from VG 24/7. It's become quite apparent that what Delta is all about is prettying the game up and also making it control like a modern game. And judging by what every single outlet has stated so far, they are knocking it out of the park in those departments. The gameplay changes are very reminiscent to Metal Gear Solid 5, as many of us predicted. Changing your camo has been streamlined and is much easier to access without too much interruption to gameplay. This is because you now have a quick switch option for your camouflage that is set to the D-pad. Pressing up on the D-pad opens this new menu. The other D-pad directions allow you to open up your codec frequencies on the fly and also let you cycle through your weapons and items. This has been confirmed by IGN. As you've probably noticed by now, the other major change has been to the game's UI. Previously, we've caught a glimpse of the game's UI via the survival viewer that was showcased in the latest Metal Gear Production Hotline video. This footage was much closer to the original in terms of the location of Snake's health and stamina bar. In these new gameplay screenshots, however, the UI has been relocated to the bottom half of the screen. It's unclear whether that is tied to the modern or legacy controller layouts, or if it's something we can reposition regardless of our preferred control option. Either way, I personally kinda like it. It's very clean and minimalistic, and it also provides all of the information you need in close proximity. Your health, stamina, camo index, and currently selected weapons and items are all near each other, making it easier to see them with just a quick glance at the bottom half of your screen. Alongside these changes to the UI, the PlayStation blog reported that the game seemingly has quite a few accessibility options available to the player that allows them to tweak things such as how you ready and fire weapons, and also options to change the reticle you use while aiming. Speaking of items, a completely new item is given to players after retrieving Snake's pack at the beginning of the Virtuous mission. That item is a compass that, when equipped, provides players with cardinal directions as well as an objective marker they can follow if they're lost. This is intended for new players, as veterans playing through the game probably won't need much direction at all. Some other details and additions include this Gakko in what seems to be a ghillie suit. GameSpot reported in their video that this item went up in flames when shot at and caused the Gakko to start quacking. It's unclear what this does exactly, but it's nice to know there are brand new items scattered throughout the various maps. One question many players have had pertaining to maps is how Delta is dealing with loading screens between areas and if they're going to be attached as one big seamless map. GameSpot has confirmed that Delta will remain faithful to the original even in this aspect. While not loading screens per se, the screen will fade to black between maps and then reappear with the new map's name just like in the original. Noriaki Okamura was asked by IGN why Delta didn't update the way the environments work. He stated, quote, note, we did debate this internally. Maybe we should reskin the game into the current open world type map. But after thinking about this, we would definitely have to remake the game from scratch, and by doing so, it could alter other things about the game, and we decided that's not the direction we really wanted to take, end quote. This detail might be a disappointment or even a deal breaker for some of you, so I wanted to make sure I included it in this video. It's also been confirmed that updated visuals also play a part in the gameplay mechanics. We've all seen the clip of Snake Muddy from traversing through the swampland. Well, it turns out, the mud actually increases or lowers your camo index depending on your environment. There are also a few smaller details we can see thanks to these new screenshots. Weapons also seemingly have camouflage patterns, and perhaps this is what the Sneaking Pack DLC mentioned on the official website will provide players. We also get a new look at the codec call menu. While we are able to quickly access the codec call using the D-pad as mentioned earlier, it seems like the traditional codec screen is here as well, complete with new pictures of the supporting cast. It's also interesting to note that there's a pause button located at the bottom of the codec call screen. Players have been asking for a way to pause codec calls and cutscenes for quite a while now, and it seems like this feature will be coming to Delta. One question that I brought up in my recently released video was how the game would end up running in terms of targeted frame rate and resolution. This was answered via GameSpot's video, as they mentioned the demo they played was locked into a 30 FPS fidelity mode, but the final release promises a 60 FPS performance mode as well. Finally, Screen Rant asked Okamura if New Game Plus or an online mode similar to MGO from Subsistence was in the works, and they were greeted with a no comment to both questions. It's important to remember that a New Game Plus mode was already teased with this footage of Snake using the Mosin Nagant before he's even able to obtain it. This gives me hope they're working on both modes and just want to keep them secret for now. That's all of the major news we've gotten from the 90-minute demo the press was lucky enough to play. Hopefully I did a good job compiling it all for you quickly, but I highly suggest checking out all of the posts and videos from the various outlets giving their impressions. As always, they are linked for you in the description box below. While this new info helped answer some of the questions I personally have had about Delta, it didn't answer all of them. Make sure to check out this video where I go over some of the questions I still have. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.